Alright guys, welcome to the second installment of our Baxter's Gamecast. We're out here in sunny Santan, Arizona. And you guys asked for it and Konami provided it. So if you guys didn't know, a couple days ago, Konami finally provided their updated Forbidden and Limited list. And a lot of you guys who are still currently in the game probably have had some testing going on, so we're just going to streamline this particular discussion about the decks that got hurt, the decks that are going to benefit from it, and what we can look forward to with the new cards that are actually been released. I'm just going to break it to you guys straight up. Prank Kids are dead. Okay? You might think it's a hot take. But we personally had some numerous testing sessions with this deck, and there's no conceivable way to make this deck playable without trying to splash some really crazy engine that hasn't been discovered yet. So this card, for those of you who don't know, this card was everything for the deck. One of our own homeboys here, Justin, the winner of the recent Arizona Regional, he has somewhat of an interesting history with this deck. He played it before this Link 1 came out, and back then it was just, you gotta look for polymerization and you gotta fusion someone with two Prank Kids. Like, you got to have those in hand or else you're literally not doing anything. So this was a deck that he personally loved a lot, and it seems like Konami really decided to drop the ban hammer on this one by banning Meow Moo. So obviously the first deck on our list that really took a hit is going to be Prank Kids. I don't see this deck being competitive in any respect unless there are some really dedicated fans out there that might try to mix, any way to try to fusion summon their Prank Kids from hand, but things look pretty bleak. Yeah, so this was definitely a hit that was most inconvenient for all of you Prank Kids fans. Moving on, it's kind of an interesting bit of trivia here. There's just as many banned Link monsters as there are banned Xyz monsters now, as of this list. I wasn't personally too invested into the game back then, but Xyz monsters were pretty powerful, and given the relatively recent release of Link monsters back in 2017, the list has piled up quite significantly since then. Let's see. Next card that was banned was Mecha Phantom Beast Auradon. This is what I like to call more of a symbolic slap on the wrist for Sword Soul. You could say Sword Souls got hit because they don't have access to Halki Fibrax Auradon combos anymore. But really, if we look at the grand scheme of things, Sword Souls are stronger, and we're going to get into that in a second because Pot of Desires is that too. Mecha Phantom Beast Auradon was not just used in Sword Soul. It was also used in a lot of good stuff Link scenarios where you would make Crystalline Halki Fibrax, bring out a tuner, boom, you have access to Auradon, and you summon Mecha Phantom Beast monsters from their deck, and you basically get tokens by using its other effect to destroy a card on the field, and you make a free easy access Barone or Savage Dragon depending on the build. But no, the focus here that Sword Soul's not really taking a heavy hit on this is really evidenced in the fact that a lot of builds aren't really using it. It's not really necessary for their combo, and given the nature of this product being new, I know we don't really talk about this a lot when it comes to ban lists, but Konami also dictates their ban list from a marketing perspective. And whether we realize it or not, if a new product is still too new, they're not going to hit that stuff so that it gets a lot of playtime, it gets a lot of attention. I was personally checking out Twitter earlier, and a lot of people were asking, "Oh my God, we got to put Jester to 1. You know, we got to find a way to hit Despia." And it's like, if we really look at the inner workings of Konami from a business perspective, they're not going to hit any of that stuff for a while because they need to sell it. Okay? So we need to just cut to the chase and come to terms with the fact that Konami is in it for selling out, their product and promoting it. So we're going to see Despia remain prevalent in a while, or over the course of the next few months. But Sword Souls didn't directly get hit from this. Sword Soul is the only top deck that I can think of besides the base deck that prevalently ran this. Base definitely took a hit, and we're going to go into that with the limited list. Because now we see Red Rose Dragon, now limited. This was kind of more of a subtle hit. Obviously, it was important for consistency reasons, but the biggest factor that really hurt the base deck was, in fact, the Mecha Phantom Beast Auradon hit. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Konami seems to either like certain combo decks, and they want to butcher other ones. And if we look at the scope of the metagame as a whole, it doesn't look like we're seeing a whole lot of combo-heavy decks like we did a few years ago. Obviously, we had Goki format when Lynx first came out. People were like, you know, it was Rematch and the Nightmares and Nightmare Goblin giving them an extra normal summon and Firewall running all over the place. That was more of a time where the game was really cranium, like super, like, I got to navigate through a lot of interruptions. I got to still make a consistent board. I got to keep fighting. But now we're kind of seeing that kind of level out into more of a mid-range type of climate for the game as a whole. Because if we really want to break it down, Despia is not a combo deck. It's really just kind of just like a make your one like scripted board, get Branded Fusion to resolve, set up Branded in red for the next turn, and so be it. That's kind of more of a straightforward level of gameplay that I think we're seeing a lot of nowadays, because Sword Soul's not really so much of a combo deck, especially without Auradon. You still use the Tenyus to your advantage, get out at Hara, etc. But the baseline plan, right, for Sword Soul is get your tokens out. Hopefully you draw Long, get him out for free from hand, make Barone, set up Blackout, so on. That, while that is a combination or a sequence, from a gameplay level, it's not exactly like a combo deck, and we're not really seeing a lot of that now. But the one thing that Sword Soul is seeing again, and I'm going to mention it right here, if we go into our spells at the bottom, Pot of Desires. Semi-limited. Was limited. This is what we like to call the Konami take-back, because Pot of Desires was only limited for one format. And I was having a discussion with Justin earlier. It's really one of those cards where you don't realize how good it is until it's gone. And when Pot of Desires went from 3 to 1, you know, you realize that you had a resource, especially Sword Souls, they had a really good resource in just banishing 10 and drawing 2, because their deck is relatively consistent in that way. So if they have a lot of draw power, they're going to pull it off, and it's like, great, cool. Then it went to 1 as kind of, again, one of those symbolic hits, because Burst of Destiny was so new. You know, they're not gonna go out and try to hit something so soon, right? But after that format, which was between January to today, we see Pot of Desires back at 2. So realistically speaking, if you're looking at the Sword Soul delivery as a whole, they're stronger. They're going to be able to pull off a little bit more. We had one of our own players who just had this really notorious gift of just drawing the one of every single time. He would, no matter what the situation, he would just seem to draw Pot of Desires whenever it was needed. So he probably won't be too affected by that. Cyber Angel Ben 10, has to do with Drytrons. We really didn't go into a lot of Drytrons lately, but as you guys know, Ben 10 coming to 2 with Eva at 0 is it's a tall order. It's still a tall order to really see where, or to try to understand exactly where Drytrons are going. In a separate video, we'll probably make our own tier list. But with this being at 2, it definitely is good. It's good to have those negates in hand. A couple formats ago, I played Drytron while Eva was still legal, and it's very essential to have that Beatrice set up back then when Eva was legal, because it just added extra layers of protection during your opponent's turn. But if you're going to have to be up front and get all of your fairies in hand, then it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be the same thing. The Megalith build does recycle Ben 10 a lot, but that really comes down to whether you even want to run the Megaliths or not. There's an extra deck build that runs the Scythe Lock. But no, I think Ben 10 going to 2, not too bad. Wise, it might even go to 3 if they continue on this path. But moving back to, and again, we're going to look at the really fun stuff in a second. But right now, I'm just trying to focus more on what really is still going to be competitive. And we got Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron was banned. He's back. Jet Synchron himself. He was kind of the forerunner of monsters that were prevalently used when Halki Fibrax came out. And he's back. He's limited. To me, without Auradon really extending into that full-on situation, you could tell Konami doesn't quite want to ban Halki Fibrax just yet. We know it was reprinted in Ghost of the Past 2, but again, Konami symbolically limited this card to 1. Most decks only ran 1, so it really doesn't matter. But Jet Synchron coming back to 1 could tell us a few things, that maybe this Halki Fibrax style setups aren't completely considered worth banning just yet. Tough call to make. But the fact that he's back is a little telling, because he was one of the first tuners that was banned. Let's see. Monkey Board was forbidden. It's not exactly the same. I don't have a lot of personal experience during the Monkey Board time frame where Hat and stuff was running around, but we're seeing Monkey Board come back to 1. It's easily searchable. We talked about in our last video, Beyond the Pendulum has a way of searching it out using its effect. Let's see. Yeah, so if you get a free body out plus a pendulum monster, you can search Monkey Board. But Plush Fire, again, still banned. So we're not seeing the full scope of that combo there. Monkey Board is still a great method to search your other Perform Pal cards, obviously. And I think a pendulum that inherently searches is really strong. Make no mistake. Which is probably why Konami may be testing the waters by keeping this at 1. Unfortunately, me and a few others, our hearts are still broken. We don't have Electromite, so that sucks. I don't think we're going to see that coming back for a while, because in the direction Konami's going with Double Iris to 3, Astrograph to 1, it's not likely that we're going to see that. And Konami, again, we're looking at it more from a marketing perspective. Konami has to sell Beyond the Pendulum, Dimension Force, whatever. So it could be a little convoluting to try to bring back Electromite and then try to sell a new Link monster, what have you. Alright, so this is the talk of the town among all the Yugi personalities, right? The first banned first banned monster card, Yatagaru. He's back to 1. Brief history lesson, right? This was the first really degenerate combo in Yu-Gi-Oh! You make Chaos Emperor Dragon, you have Sangan on the field. You use Chaos Emperor Dragon's effect to send everything, both players' hand and field, to the grave. You activate Sangan's effect, and you search Yatagaru. Yatagaru is a very particularly unique ability where it's a spirit monster, can't be special summoned, but that really didn't stop this card's potential. This card returns to the owner's hand during the end phase. That's inherent to all spirit monsters. Of the turn, it's normal summoned, or flip face up. When this card inflicts damage to your opponent, they skip their next draw phase. So, if we do some quick calculation, and your opponent has nothing in their field or in their hand, and you just used Sangan to search Yatagaru, you normal Yatagaru. You pay, or you attack for 200. They skip their next draw phase. It returns to your hand. Then it's your opponent's turn. They have nothing in their hand, nothing in their field. They skip their draw phase. They pass. What do you know? It's your turn again. You normally have to go. Okay, so you get the idea. Yeah, so this was like the beginning of what a lot of players began to see. This was a pioneering piece of degenerate, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sequences. And it's back. It's back to 1. I don't know if there's any particular combo potential or anything. There might be some underground, garage combos that you might be able to think of. A lot of rogue strategies that might be able to incorporate this, but I think I don't know the exact intention behind Konami choosing to bring this back to 1, other than like the fanfare. But we'll see. We'll see, right? Another interesting hit. I think this one really got Simo the most. It was on his thumbnail for his Banlist reaction. Change of Heart. Change of Heart went from Forbidden to Limited. And of course, Change of Heart was from the very first starter deck. A lot of you guys may have collected this one. Yugi starter deck. Target 1 monster your opponent controls. Take control of it to the end phase. The advantage of this card over other effects it take is that this one lets you take face down monsters. So back then, if your opponent ran a lot of flip monsters, let's say they had a Magician of Faith set, you flip it and you get to use it. A little fun fact for you GOAT players, this card's actually still banned in GOAT format. So it's ironic to see a card that's banned in a Legacy format but not banned in our current one, otherwise known as the Advanced format. But yeah, really interesting stuff, really fascinating. The only deck I can see making use of this right now, obviously, would be Sky Striker. Me and Justin are testing a build. We're running Mind Control and Change of Heart, so 2 options to take your opponent's monsters. And we're going to see the full effectiveness of this come to fruition over the coming months with events coming up and YCS Hartford. I don't think the Banlist is going to be effective for YCS Hartford. I could be wrong. No, this Banlist is effective immediately. So yeah, we're going to see. We're going to have to see what players really think of when it comes to this new format. This makes absolutely no sense to me. Shooting Rise of Dragon to 1. We've seen things like this in the OCG, where we ban cards, or we limit cards that people only ran 1 of. Same thing happened with Verte. Verte got limited to 1. Well, I don't believe anyone ever ran more than 1 Verte in any OCG list. So it's almost like maybe this is the TCG adopting some kind of warning sign that this card is going to get hit, or it's going to get banned in the future. I know, off the top of my head, I know that you can use it to dump Scythe and bring it back with Barone. So that could see some use. Halki Fibrax to 1, not a big surprise. People have been complaining for the last 2 years for this card to get banned, even to the point of having that one custom format, I think, that was fronted by... Anyway, a couple years ago they did a custom format where they banned Needle Fiber, Halki Fibrax, and the whole thing was just shambles. I think sometimes we have to just trust Konami's judgment and trust the pattern. If it's not necessarily broke, don't fix it. I'm not entirely pessimistic about this format. I don't think it's unhealthy. I know that there's a lot of new things that people may not be used to, but that is the natural progression of the game, and you're going to hear us continue to say that. It's like, don't be so soon to approach something so pessimistically. I mean, a lot of us players went through Master Rule 4, right? Where we had to make link monsters, and we had to put all of our favorite monsters to point to a link monster, right? And it wasn't very fun. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, how often will these... Jackson, we're going to do this weekly. Sorry, I didn't notice your comment there. But yeah, we're going to be doing this on the regular, so please stay tuned for that. We're just going over a lot of flat baseline stuff with the Banlist today. This is our first live stream on YouTube, so please subscribe and make sure that you're keeping up with this. I don't know, but again, Konami is not this evil machine that's trying to make players miserable. I think they're just as focused on the player base growing and adapting as they are pushing product, right? They do make a lot of market-based decisions, but they also have a team that's going to be like, okay, how are we going to make this stuff effective? How are we going to make this good, right? Other than that, not really too much going on with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Banlist yet. We don't know what decks are going to evolve, and I mean, obviously Despia is going to be the top deck, but this is going to be it for our Banlist discussion. We hope that you guys subscribe and keep the bell on and make sure that you guys are staying in tune. And we wish you guys the best and have a safe rest of your guys' week.